I would like to announce that a quorum is present. The meeting is duly called, and notice of the meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. The time is 6 p.m. We ask that all those in attendance conduct themselves respectfully at all times during this meeting. Any outbursts or disruptive behaviors may result in your removal from this evening's board work session. The following board members are in attendance: Allison Lasan, Catherine Sells, Dr. Buddy Bonner, Christy Hassett, Jenny Prosnick, and Sheila Taylor. Board President Tracy Miller is unable to attend this evening's work session. I'm going to leave us in prayer. Dear Lord, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for this beautiful weather. Please be with all of our students and staff and faculty as they learn and grow in this school year. It's your name we pray. Amen. All right, please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the Texas Pledge. All right, I'm going to call on Dr. Miller, and she is going to lead us through the four cornerstones for tonight.
Good evening, y'all. Our cornerstone for tonight is I use resources in an effective and efficient way to serve others, particularly the third bullet of preparing early, anticipating organizational needs. There are several innovative solutions and resources that we'll be talking about this month, and so that is the I statement that we highlighted.
Thank you very much. All right, persons desiring to address the Board of Trustees must fill out a speaker's card. In accordance with the district board policy, only speaker cards addressing items on this evening's agenda will be acknowledged. No presentation shall exceed 3 minutes. The board cannot deliberate on any subject that is not included on the agenda. Each speaker will receive a written follow-up from the district in the next 3 business days. The board and district administration values the feedback shared during this time of the meeting, and we are grateful for the continued partnership between LISD and the families and the communities we served. All right, there are no speakers cards. All right, Dr. Rapp.
All right, good evening. Thank you, Ms. Lasan. Essentially, I've got the first item, and then Dr. Miller is going to take the second one that's underneath the superintendent report. So I just wanted to bring to you about facility usage. As was shared with you in board book, facility usage was previously discussed in November 2017 and February 2018. And at that time, it was determined that any updates to facility usage would be brought before the board for information. And so I have this on here tonight just to be sure if there are any questions about this, but we are going to add the Marcus High School track at the baseball and softball fields off of Dixon Lane. So it's not the one at Marcus High School specifically, but the one off of Dixon that's there. We're going to add that to the rental list. And I'm also recommending that we look at staff looking at the possibility of adding the multipurpose facilities to our rental list. And once we know more about if we want to move forward with recommending that to you all, I would bring that back forward for discussion as well, but staff would just investigate that at this time. So any questions I'd be happy to take on the Dixon track there and adding that to the rental list.
Anyone have a question? Ms. Prosnick.
Have we had interest for people to rent that facility?
Yes, thank you. We have had interest in the usage of a track, and we originally looked, one of the ones that we have on the list is at Harmon, but due to our usage of it during that season, it's really not going to work out, and the one at Dixon doesn't get used very much. But yes, there is interest, and I do think we'd have more interest beyond what we've initially received. Thank you.
Ms. Hassett.
Thank you. I'm loving the idea. Are we going to use the same fee structure that we currently have for Harmon or the other?
So I want to say thank you to Mr. Kosh and Mr. Hughes because they've ultimately done the research on the fee structure, and so be a little bit different, and I'd be happy to provide that as a follow-up to your question. But yes, they do have a fee structure they're ready to propose. Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, thank you so much. And so now you said Ms. Miller is doing the DOI? All right.
All right, we wanted to provide an update on the DOI plan and how we have used that this year to date. Remember that it was approved in May at the end of last year. So in your board book, you saw just a review of that, a highlight. So remember there were 4 exemptions that we had. Of course, exemption 1 with the calendar we did use this year to start before the end of August, and we got great feedback from all of our surveys that went out, so we're now processing that. The calendar committee will meet here in October, and so we will use that to kind of determine how useful that was moving forward. Then our behavior coordinator, which was exemption 2, we're collecting information from campuses on their discipline data, and at the end of the year we will have some data on how useful that was, as well as our probationary contracts. We don't implement that until the end of the year if that's necessary. So we will have end of the year information on that. Then our big one is exemption 4. And as you know from your updates that you get every week, we have used that exemption a lot. So we are able to hire, we're at 31 right now. We had a little more, but remember that 1 has resigned since was hired. So we have 31 and that we have hired DOI hires. The majority of them have been certified, so they might be certified 4 to 8 that they're teaching 9th grade, or they're certified special ed but missing a content area. So most of them are certified or in the alt-cert program. There are a few of them, meaning like 2 or 3 of them that are industry certified, so at a tech center, and so they don't have a certification for education. They are getting customized support, like very customized, because no one fits like this beautiful pathway. So we have like 5 different pathways going of how they're being supported. Even the ones that are a certified teacher and just in a different area that they're not certified, we are connecting with the content specialists to make sure that they're comfortable and aware of their content. So that has been very helpful, and we are glad that we were able to use that exemption. So I think that's all, unless y'all have any questions.
Okay. Anyone have questions? Okay. All right, great. Thank you. All right. Now I believe we're going to ask Ms. Gall to come up and do a learning and teaching report.
Hey. I hope you can hear me okay. Heidi Veal is going to be sharing with you tonight the early childhood update that she provides annually. Of course, Heidi is our early childhood administrator under the supervision and leadership of Karen Spalding, who's our executive director of elementary curriculum and programs. I appreciate Heidi getting prepared for this and ready to share with you all of the information about the great things happening in the early childhood world.
Ms. Veal, yeah, turn on your mic.
Is it this one?
There you go.
Oh, that's much better. Okay. Now we can all hear. We serve state-eligible 4-year-olds in our pre-K programs. That is our largest group of students who attend and participate in our pre-K classes. And you can see all the state eligibilities listed there on the left-hand side of the screen. Our largest group of students who qualify for pre-K are our language-eligible students who are receiving ESL and bilingual instruction. We also, in our inclusive co-teach classes, have our students who qualify for special education and are receiving ECSE services in those collaborative classrooms. And then we have a very robust tuition-based program where we serve tuition-only students, children who live in the community, and also children of LISD employees. This next screen is just sharing some demographic breakdown of our student groups from last year. Our largest, our Hispanic and Asian students represent the largest demographic group, ethnic group amongst our pre-K students. Our emergent bilinguals are the students who are eligible for bilingual or ESL pre-K classes, and they make up 56% of all of the enrolled pre-K students in our program. So they are our largest eligibility group in pre-K. And that means they're in classes receiving ESL and bilingual instruction. Our economically disadvantaged students last year made up 50% of our eligible students also. So you see the breakdown there. This gives us a really high overview of pre-K by the numbers. We have pre-K classes at 19 campuses across LISD, 18 elementary schools, and one of them being Lily Jackson, our early childhood campus. This year, we are excited to celebrate that all of our classes are full day for our eligible 4-year-old students. And that is 64 classes, and 48 of them are ESL English classes, and 16 are bilingual. Of those 64 classrooms, we have 17 new to pre-K teachers teaching in those classes. So you see that that's a large group of new to pre-K teachers that we're supporting in the program between myself and our facilitator. When you combine the number of pre-K eligible students with ECSE students also enrolled in our co-teach classrooms, we have just under 1,300 kids enrolled, and that was at a snapshot date of September the 12th. This is showing you enrollment from August 10th, our first day of school, up to the 12th, and you just see that steady increase of our pre-K and ECSE numbers growing steadily. We've increased already by 146 new students as of September 12th, and we'll just continue to grow and enroll. It's always the first day in pre-K. But when we compare to looking at this time last year, we already have 156 more students enrolled compared to this same, time frame compared to last year. So we know that we're on par for enrolling even more and serving more students this year in our pre-K classes. This helps you to see our Gen Ed pre-K capacity by feeders in percentage, basically. You can kind of see where we're fuller in pre-K classes and where we have some space. But overall, as of September the 6th, we are 89% full in all of our pre-K Gen Ed space, and that's 88% full in ESL and 98% in our bilingual Gen Ed space. I did this calculation again on Friday, September the 30th, and we're at 92% full just between the 12th and now in our Gen Ed pre-K space. So enrollment just continues to grow. In our tuition-based program, we wanted to share some updates and information for you there. We have tuition-based classes at 5 elementary campuses, including 2 classes at Lily J. Jackson. Hebron Valley, Heritage, Liberty, and Valley Ridge all have Discovery Academy tuition classes. So that makes for 9 classes total. We are 98% full in our tuition-based classes. Generally, we might have a spot or two come open from time to time, and we fill them as quickly as we can. Right now, we do have 297 students on our Discovery Academy waiting list application. And you can see the breakdown of the number of applications by location. And so next steps can be considering the addition of another Discovery Academy class just based on the demand for the program. Now we want to just give a snapshot of pre-K enrollment over the years. It's exciting to see pre-K enrollment rebounding from the COVID years that we've experienced. And we know that our enrollment is going to just continue to climb this school year as well. We actually have nearly 200 more students currently enrolled at this time compared to last year's PEAMS snapshot date. This is our enrollment graph from last school year, and what's notable is where you see that little red arrow pointing, it's showing you where where our enrollment is today, that's about where it was last year. It took us until mid-December to enroll up to around 1,300 students. So you can already see we're well beyond as far as tracking with that. One of the things that we had to do while we had the full-day waiver, and that was under House Bill 3, the mandate to expand to full-day pre-K, we did have the waiver for 3 years, but one part of that was being able to prove and say we are serving more students in full-day pre-K classes year over year. This graph is just showing us how we have done that. Even over last year to this year, now that we're in full day implementation, we have an increasing number of 4-year-olds in full day classes year over year. Now we're going to shift a little bit and look at some student data. We're going to focus on just 3 important areas out of all of the 10 pre-K domains: social, emotional, early literacy, and mathematics. In early literacy, we're looking at their letter knowledge. Students should be, by the end of the year, their goal is naming 20 letters, and our 4-year-olds are meeting that goal at the end of the year, and also tracking with that year over year when we look at past year's data, just trying to look at trends and students meeting that end of year goal. In math, we look at one-to-one counting correspondence, and the goal for end of year is counting up to 10 with one-to-one correspondence, and that's a skill that our it's difficult for the young age students, and they've been already working on it in their math classes as of even the last several weeks of school. This is something that we've been discussing in PLCs with teachers and tracking student data and assisting them with instructional strategies. And looking at that data over the years, you can see that our students are continuing to either kind of hover around 10 or 9, getting close or approaching that end of year goal of 10. Finally, we're going to look at their social emotional learning data. This is based on the CLI social emotional checklist for 4-year-old students. They do this at the beginning and the end of the year, and we set a goal for our students of 47 points or more on the end of year checklist, and you can see that our end of year scores last year either passed or our students who were assessed in all English just were barely under that score of 47 points. It is a checklist, and it is something that the teachers are looking at those different discrete skills and scoring them on the checklist. And this just looks at that data over past years, and what it is leading us to understand is our students have experienced a lot in the past several years, and we're seeing the reflection in the data of the social emotional checklist, specifically more for our students who were assessed in English than Spanish, and it just helps us to know how to respond to our kids. So some of the data takeaways is that our students are making improvements and gains. They are reaching end-of-year goals or approaching end-of-year goals, and we're designing ways to respond to that and support them in the classroom through supporting teachers through PLCs or professional learning or book studies, and also one-on-one coaching with teachers and supporting students. Some final celebrations we want to wrap up with are mentioned earlier, we really have crossed that finish line of implementing and providing full-day pre-K for all of our eligible 4-year-olds. But really, it's just the beginning of great things to come for the pre-K program and the 4-year-old students in full-day classes. We know that the rising pre-K enrollment brings some special challenges, and we're ready to face them. Another celebration is last year, Early Childhood Summer School served over 600 students and at 3 different locations, and we were so excited we got to take all of them on field trips to Lisdola, and it was the first time that that youngest age students were able to experience that new outdoor learning center. So it was a real celebration with Shelley and Jeff and her team and our team together. And then getting to return to much more in-person professional learning with our teachers last year, with over 10 professional learning sessions and over 160 participants, both teachers and paraprofessionals. That leads us to some goals for the program this year. We're focusing on building and supporting a PLC culture amongst our teachers, just helping them to feel connected with one another across the district and reflecting on practices, strategies, and student data. Another thing is just tightly monitoring full-day pre-K implementation. That means a careful look at enrollment. I give enrollment updates for attendance clerks almost on a daily basis so that they know where we have space and where to send enrolling families so that they can have a spot. And then connecting with pre-K families, helping to help them feel connected with the district and their classes and their schools and the program at large. Looking for opportunities to provide parent workshops, both either in person or virtually, and collecting their feedback on the program. So that's the conclusion of what I've prepared to share with you today.
Thank you. Dr. Rapp, you have anything you want to add? Okay. Anybody down here have questions? Okay, go, Ms. Prosnick.
Thank you. It's one of my favorite updates every year. So I have a couple of questions and maybe some clarifications for those out and watching. The 1695 high enrollment was when we were in half day, correct?
Yes.
So that would include a morning session,
AM and PM.
AM and PM. I just thought I'd clarify that. And also that, remind me, are we funded full day for all of our pre-K people, or are we only halfway funded?
No, we only receive half-day ADA funding for every 4-year-old who is, we are required to provide full-day pre-K, but the state only gives us half-day ADA funding. We're required as a district then to come up with the additional funding.
Thank you.
Yep.
And then I guess my question is, moving forward, is what is our capacity? I know what we have, and you said we certainly have a waiting list. I would be interested, not in this moment right here, but to see what our capacity actually is at our district level if we did want to expand it, where we could expand it, and what does that actually look like for the district?
Okay.
Okay.
I know what our capacity is in our classes right now.
Right. Yeah.
Is that what you were interested in?
I'm interested in, because you said we could add at those 5 where you showed that we had waiting. I don't know if those campuses have capacity off the top of my head. So just because that we have a waiting list doesn't mean we have a classroom.
Right. So the waiting list are people who are signed up for tuition-based pre-K, and those would be children who don't qualify for pre-K, or if they do, they're still 3, and so we're not required to serve the 3-year-olds, and they're on a waiting list. Some of the Discovery Academy campuses may have capacity in the building to add a classroom. It would just be depending on if and when we would want to do that. And that would be for a tuition-based class for kids who don't qualify.
Correct. Once again, it's not a question I needed answered tonight. It's just more about what our capacity is looking long-term. That's all. Thank you so much. I appreciate the work.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yes, we can submit questions, absolutely, yeah. Anything else for Ms. Taylor? Would you like to ask a question?
Yes, I think that Ms. Prosnick had asked the question that I wanted to know. You talked about capacity, and I was interested in knowing too what happens, and maybe it's more for the kids that don't qualify for tuition base. I think you said 89% full. Are we expected to? Do we think that that's going to trend up where there's going to be a waiting list for that? And you talked about adding classes. Is there funding? I guess how would all of that work? And that might be a later question or something to get back to me on.
So the slide that had percentages, you can see where we have space in the district. If a student is wishing to enroll, they meet a pre-K eligibility, they're for on or before September 1, we have to have a spot for them in LISD pre-K. And we do, we just can't always guarantee it's going to be at the location closest to their residence.
Gotcha.
But we do have a spot. If we were to get in the situation where we were 100% full everywhere, then we would really have to, have some considerations for that.
Okay. And then my follow-up question is, and I'm sure I just don't know because I'm new, is transportation provided for the tuition base?
No, transportation is not provided for any pre-K students.
Okay. So if they were to go to a school, have to go to a school that's farther away from where they live, they have to provide their own transportation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And it's not required to be provided. So,
Ms. Hassett?
Just a couple questions. One you probably won't know the answer to right now, and I'll submit it later, but I'm going to ask it real quick. So we do have a little bit more capacity in the colony and the LHS. So I'm just wondering, what outreach do we do to try to increase? Because there's probably students out there. You won't know that yet, but I'll submit that later. How can we help some more of the students over there? So you don't have to answer right now. And then because we have just become full day without the waiver, is there any wonkiness because of the enrollment and COVID? Has HB3 had any stipulations about, or it didn't start until now because of the...
No.
Okay.
There's been no revision that said, oh, because this happened, we're going to allow more time, or...
And no commissioner rules that are
No.
saying that we're going to be dinged because of the dip, because of... There's...
No.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we've
Appreciate it.
followed all the rules.
Yes, thank you, thank you.
Okay, and just to Ms. Sell's point, we have quite a full agenda tonight, so if you have a question, board, if you have a question that's like a clarification on something, let's ask it, but if it's just, something you're curious about, write it down on your nice little notepad, and then we will submit those for later on. All right. Thank you, Ms. Beal, so much. And next, we have CTE Business Partnerships Annual Update.
Great.
I think I saw Mr. Cooper back there.
Yes, Mr. Cooper is heading up along with Lindsay Ayers. They'll be providing the CTE update in conjunction with the business partnerships update for this year. And of course, thank you to the directors, Mr. Gilbreth and Mr. Moreno, for being in the audience, and our administrators who also help support CTE.
And I think a quick note on this one, we're going to take this in halves. So we've combined it because they're working so closely together, but Mr. Cooper, you're up in the first half, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So we'll stop at that half, see if there's any clarifying questions, and then Ms. Ayers will pick it up with her half. How's that sound? Okay.
All right, making sure I grabbed the right clicker. Good evening, Dr. Rapp, Board of Trustees. Thank you. It's always an awesome time to be able to look back and reflect on what we did this past year and look at the exciting things ahead. So these are some of the things that we'll be covering this evening, and a lot of important updates for you as well that will impact how we operate moving forward in CTE. So this is something that I'm a little disappointed Mr. Miller's not here. This is something he's actually been kind of asking for us to look at the past couple of years, really looking at that college versus trade school. And something that when we always talk to students and talk to families, we're very thankful that we have such a board that's such in support of the trades that we offer in our programs. And people say, what do the trades look like versus college? And really, depending on how you look at it, it really depends what you're trying to get out of your career and your education. So these two slides right here will really kind of highlight those. And what it really boils down to is your return on investment. So you're going to pay less up front to be able to begin making money in your career sooner. And then when you're looking at college, you are going to spend a little bit more, but they're saying the long-term impact is going to be a little bit greater. So there's a few slides here that kind of highlight both of these and just talks about the pros and cons of both. But at the end of the day, we always talk to the families and talk to the students and say this is an individual decision. And what we try to make sure that we do with our students is help them find something they're passionate about. And we never want them to refrain from pursuing something because they've heard a negative perception as far as their outlook of career and salary and things like that. So we try to stay in front of this as much as we can and educate our families and educate our students as much as we can and point them in the right directions. So certifications, we don't have many barometers that we can look at to kind of annually compare where we are, but certifications are something that we definitely look at. It is something that TEA looks at us with their state accountability and something that we make sure that we're operating with workforce readiness for our students. So this past year we had just over 2,000 certifications reported. At least one certification was reported for over 1,000 of our students. 863s were at our main high school campuses. So a lot of times that surprises people that we offer so many at the main campuses. 1,200 of these were qualifying industry-based certifications for A through F accountability, and 782 students earned at least one qualifying industry-based certification as well. These are new certifications that were reported this past school year in 21-22. So the ones that are boldened with the asterisk are on the A through F accountability list. The ones that are not, we still offered for our students. Every time we look at certifications, we do look what is TEA recognizing, but also we're never going to refrain from offering a certification for a student if we know that's immediately going to make them hireable. So those are things that we also offer inside of our programs. So inside of our list of 2011 certifications, these are certifications that are not included for a variety of reasons. Some of them are just a quick assessment. Some of them are kind of a benchmark. So this right here would inflate our numbers about another 1,000. But our automotive tech programs and our collision repair programs do such a great job. We wanted to make sure to highlight these as well, but these were not a part of those certification lists because they're industry specific and things like that. So we wanted to be as transparent as we could about where we stood with our certification numbers. So every 2 years, TEA is updating their list for A through F accountability for their IBCs. The first list that they had was very slim, and then they expanded that to 244. They just wrapped up another evaluation of it. There will be 256 certifications on this next list. 111 of them are new. 145 are rollovers from the previous list. So any IBC that's not on the new list will be allowed to be used for our juniors and seniors right now. So it does give a sunsetting period for us to be able to roll these in. But we have already begun identifying these and working with our teachers that have these courses and making sure that we are preparing for the new list. So just to show you a little bit of the impact, these 621 certifications are being reported this year, are not going to be on the new list. So a lot of them are going to be ASC heavy. The Microsoft Office Specialist, Excel, and Word are not on the new list, but the Expert is. So our teachers and administrators have been doing a great job of making sure that we're in front of this and catching up as much as we can with it. So the new list, once again, will affect our freshmen and sophomores moving forward. Always fun talking about accountability. There is a pending change right now. Even though this does say pending, we have been told as much effort that's gone into this that this will be changing. When this was first proposed, it was supposed to be earn an industry-based certification or complete a program of study. When the language came back, it turned out to be earn an industry-based certification and complete an aligned program of study. So this is a pretty dynamic impact for all over the state of Texas. We've already begun breaking down our courses and auditing where we are with our program of study alignments, making sure that we're in front of this as much as possible. So we've already been doing our course audits and course structures. So these are some things that will be impacting a lot of people with CCMR. But once again, this is something that we are actively working for right now. So to show what the phase-in process looks like, so our 2023 graduates this year, the old and the new list will be eligible, but you also must have one course aligned in a program of study. 2024, so our current sophomores, old and new industry-based certification list, it must have at least be a concentrator in an aligned program of study, which is two or more courses for 2 or more credits, and then a concentrator completer will be implemented in 25 and 26. So our current freshmen and sophomores, this will be 3 or more courses for 4 or more credits, plus the industry-based certification. So that is being phased in beginning this year, even though it's pending. But this is something, once again, we're actively working for. So looking at our main campuses, we were able to launch new programs with the Colony Incubator and robotics at 4 of our main high schools. It's amazing that it's only been a year because it seems like the incubator has been going on a lot longer than this, but they wrapped up an awesome year doing a great job with that program. And as mentioned earlier, 863 certifications earned at those main campuses. So they're continuing to do a great job. And I know I reported this last year, but a majority of our teachers, CT teachers, do house at the main campuses, not just at our career centers. So looking ahead at this current school year, 22-23, we did move tech apps from digital learning over to career and technical education. This has always kind of been a conversation of where does tech apps live. This really has helped us with that vertical alignment and making sure that what we're doing in the middle schools directly translates over to our high schools. So in our PLC days, we've already been able to link these teachers up. They've had just partnership and guest speaking opportunities. So this has really been a neat opportunity to see some of those robotics programs and AV programs and all of them really partnering with those tech apps courses. So, and I imagine this is something that we'll continue to embed as the years roll out. So briefly, I wanted to touch base on the CTE program funding. I could talk about this for days, but we will not tonight. I know Ms. Rupert mentioned the Perkins grant last month. So every year it's pretty consistent, about just shy of $400,000 that we get in federal funds. Those funds do allow us to do some really equipment that we typically would not be able to do without federal funds. But we also have a state allotment in CTE, and it's just under $25 million for this year. 55% of that, at least 55%, has to be spent directly on CTE, so that's just under $14 million. Just like every district in the state of Texas, we are roughly around 80% of that directly in our finest assets, which are our salaries for our people. So you immediately take that off of the 55%, and then the rest allows you to take care of your consumables and everything else that allows our programs to run and to maintain the industry standard that we strive for. So not to get too much in the weeds of it, but there are 3 tiers of funding. If a course is not in a program of study, it's a 1.1 multiplier. We believe we fully eliminated all CT courses that are not in a program of study. And then there's level 1 or level 2 course for a 1.28, and then in higher level, which is level 3 or level 4 for 1.47. Just to let you know, every tenth of the multiplier is about $100 additional funding per student. So you could see the level 1, level 2 course is about $280 per student. Level 3 or level 4, $470 per student. So it kind of helps you judge based on certain class counts how much a teacher in a course are generating. So some of the things that we're able to do with this that we would not be able to do with our state allotment, some of y'all may have seen the new Techie studio, the upgrade that was state-of-the-art when we launched that campus. After 10 years, 15 years, that technology starts turning old pretty quick, so we were able to update that lab, that studio. We had some video of the students when they walked in for the first time, and to see their faces and eyes lit up, it's really neat. We were able to get new trailers, and we do have new trucks on order. We travel throughout the state of Texas for our students, and we want to make sure that we have them in the best opportunity to succeed, because we haul a lot of money in these projects and our students. And then the incubator space, and if you don't know this, the incubator space at the Colony is the former culinary lab. It does not look like a culinary lab anymore. They did a great job with that. And then a new tractor out at the ag barn. So these are just a small sample size of what we're able to do with some of this funding. And then for our Career Center updates, there's always exciting things going on here. Annually, we do try to report our wait list. This is something that we monitor as much as we can and try to figure out ways that we can maximize classrooms to eliminate this wait list. We are limited in these programs, the numbers, so this is something we constantly evaluate. I'll talk about this on the next slide, but we did add a health science unit this year to Tech East, which did help these wait lists in health science, which had increasingly grown. The two that we're really monitoring right now the most, Welding 1 and Welding 2, and auto technology. And we will actually be talking that a little later on this evening, but that's also the rest of our wait list that we really began heavily tracking the last 3 years. So I mentioned the additional health science instructor. We do have a current wait list at 29, but that's after adding this health science instructor. So they do a great job. We are up to 7 health science positions between both of our career centers. At both career centers, we're able to add a student support services instructor. These directly get on campus with our students who need support in certifications and in our CTE courses at those programs. And we're finalizing programs for expansion for Tech East, which you will be hearing a little later on this evening. And over at Tech West, we're partnering with Focus on the Future this year over there, as well as the second year for our VAT program. And we also had an exciting Tech West Trade Signing Day last spring with our electrical and HVAC kids, and really was neat to be able to see those industry partners come in and sign those students to some jobs and give them a hat. It's amazing how excited they get over a hat, and that was a really neat opportunity that they're going to be continuing this year. So we will be coming forward with some innovative courses for on the 17th, but these are 3 we wanted to go ahead and propose to you so you can begin looking at these. Sheet metal technology, so this is something that will be embedded into our HVAC program. So this is something that we want to, this will kind of help clean up some things that we have as far as course alignment. But the nice thing about these next 2, Introduction to Instrumental and Electrical and Advanced Instrument and Electrical, this is a unique opportunity we have to embed these in our electrical program without changing any major changes to any of our curriculum. But not only will it add a new program of study, this also puts us in the energy career cluster. So we would now be 14 of 14 career clusters in LISD, which is, I know, something that we have chatted ways to get this happening. So I think that'll be an exciting thing for us. So with that, I'll go ahead and pause for questions before we start on the strategic partnerships.
All right. Anybody have anything? Ms. Hassett?
With the new changes to the accountability, is that going to impact our CTE outcomes-based funding that we receive?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Was it going to impact the outcomes-based funding we receive for CTE?
I have not looked at the outcomes bonus money to see how it impacts, but I imagine there might be some.
I'll submit it and y'all eventually can look at it.
We can definitely look at it. Thank you.
I just want to say I'm excited you found number 14.
I knew you would be.
All right. So now do we get to hear from Ms. Ayers?
Turn this on. Good evening, Dr. Rapp and Board. I'm excited to give you updates on business partnerships. This is our year-end update talking about how we connect businesses to LISD classrooms and join CTE and beyond in preparing the future workforce. So here's an overview of the topics we'll be covering this evening. For the sake of time, I'm going to let y'all briefly take a pass at that and we'll roll it right in. The first slide here is our year-end numbers. So you'll see we have added the 21-22 school year. The 2 main categories that you'll see significant growth in are job opportunities for our students. There are a few different reasons for that, and I'll touch on those later. But one of them is the economy and workforce and businesses wanting to hire our students at a really exciting rate. The other number that you'll see that had significant growth last year was our connections to classroom learning. On our Career Out slide, you'll see our host sites remained relatively steady. Last year, Career Out was both in-person and hybrid. You'll see the number of students participating did jump, and that was due to having both the in-person and the virtual option available. So the feedback we got from Career Out last year, you'll see that both businesses and students were surveyed. Students were surveyed as they participated virtually and students who participated in person. So those were two different surveys that were conducted, and you'll see across the board just students like the program. It didn't seem to matter how they participated, whether it was virtually or in person, they still had a good experience. The number that I am most excited about is 99% of students said they would participate again or tell a friend to. To me, that speaks volumes to the experience that our students get in that job shadowing program. The other exciting piece on that slide is TIAA and Medical City both sponsored again last year. TIAA specifically sponsored the 3 MacBook Airs that we were able to hold a scholarship for. So 3 of our graduating seniors who could prove a need for technology when they moved on to their next phase of life were able to move on with the technology needed. And one of the young ladies who received a laptop is on the screen in front of you. One of the areas of support that I am so pleased that I got to help with last year was partnering up with our middle school STEM academies. So the first 2 bullets were in partnership with Tech Titans. So you will hear more about both the diversity and engineering panel and the STEM challenge question on the next slide. But we were also able to support one of the units where students had a cerebral palsy project. We partnered up with Flower Mound Presbyterian Hospital and had an occupational therapist consult with students on their project ideas. We were able to bring in an architect to work with STEM science classes on their earthquake project. And at the end of the year, students had a roller coaster project. We were able to bring in some engineers with a physics background to help students really kind of assess how to make their roller coasters better, give some feedback. Some of these speakers did come into classrooms because of the Volley system, but I also want to thank Jennifer Beimer and her team for their collaboration with getting these speakers into the classroom. For our Tech Titans update, you'll see 2 of our teachers made it to the finalist round of the Tech Titans Awards. This is a really prestigious award, and we were thrilled to have 2 finalists, both Gary Ryman and Carrie Nathan. As I mentioned on the previous slide, we did hold STEM panel discussions at the middle school level. The diversity and engineering panel discussion was conducted over WebEx. It was open to all of our middle schools. All 4 STEM middle schools did participate, but other middle schools did join in as well. We were able to impact 2,000 students on that call. The diversity in engineering came through not only in the types of engineering that the presenters were talking about, but also diversity among the presenters themselves, both in gender and in ethnicity. For our STEM challenge question that I mentioned on the previous slide, you'll see photos up there of our students who got to go to Stryker headquarters. So this challenge question was rolled out to all 4 of our STEM middle schools at the 6th grade level. Any 6th grader, whether they were in a STEM elective class or not, was able to respond to the question. You'll see that we had 130 students who took on that challenge. 17 students won $50 gift cards, and the piece that was, I feel like, the most exciting was that we circled back with Stryker engineers from their R&D division. So Stryker Research and Development engineers cycled back and gave feedback to our students about the types of responses that won, what stood out, what made those responses win. So that way it wasn't just kind of this black hole of students answering a thoughtful question. Students were able to apply what they had learned in their STEM elective class, so they submitted Tinkercad drawings. But what you see on the screen is the top 3 winners had their designs turned into a virtual operating room. They were putting on HoloLens goggles just like any business who came to Stryker and asked for that service to be provided. So you'll see students walking around. It's as though they're in the operating room that they created. And those top 3 winners and their families were able to go visit Stryker headquarters. We did hold our Women in STEM events again. You'll see the number 280 on the screen, and the reason that's significant is we had 250 spots, and we had 280 young ladies attend. So we were really pleased that when we held the event specifically for the Flower Mound and Marcus feeder patterns, we had to abandon the room we had planned to have the event in, move it to the cafeteria, because 9th grade young ladies just kept showing up. we were able to feed them all still, which was very exciting. We did hold a graphic design t-shirt contest in collaboration with Tech Titans. What that did was just add an arts piece to what is typically STEM, and it became a STEAM project. And the graphic design student was actually awarded today on Tech East campus. And this year we will print that design, and students who attend Tech Titans events this year will then be able to get a t-shirt. So we mentioned earlier that a lot of our growth last year came due to businesses needing employees. We saw help wanted signs in almost every business that any of us went to last year. That held true throughout the entire year. So at lisd.net/student jobs, there is an open job board for businesses to post an opportunity. There is also a site linked where students can find opportunities for employment. You'll see that there was a TIAA grant that really impacted our summer internship program. And I want to thank the HR department, the finance department, the purchasing department. It took a lot of collaboration, and also LEF, a lot of collaboration to make that happen. The TIAA grant paid for 10 student interns to go and intern at a small business in the community that wanted an intern, would have posted an unpaid internship, and so many of our students would have been unable to accept that real-world, hands-on, career-oriented, resume-building learning because it would have been unpaid. So because of TIAA's money, we were able to pay students for 6 weeks out of the summer. They worked 15 hours a week, $12 an hour. It was a fantastic program. You'll see that we had 19 internship opportunities posted, 19 positions filled, almost 1,300 total internship hours worked over the summer. And you'll also see that on that job board that I mentioned, there were 55 different opportunities posted throughout the year for our students to respond to. We were able to, the partnerships department supported a lot of career fairs. So anytime a campus holds a career fair, if they tell me I help by sending businesses that I think would be interested, help promote it. I specifically partnered with Lewisville High School and Monica Story to put on a job fair at their campus because of the companies who were coming to me, that we believed that LHS had a demographic that would respond well to those companies. 23 booths were at that fair. 8 of those booths offered tuition reimbursement as part of their benefits package. And then last year was our first year to hold a district-wide job and internship fair. And you'll see the 2 students on the screen were just 2 of the students who did get hired by those 2 companies. There were multiple job offers made on Saturday, May 14th, and we were really thrilled to partner with the local community for that. There were a lot of classroom connections made last year. I will not read you all of these. I'll tell you a few of my most exciting ones. One, thanks to Jennifer Beimer's team again, we were able to send a science class from Lewisville High School down to biolabs. You'll see them in the bottom picture down there. They were able to work directly with scientists in a lab setting, perform science experiments, and talk to multiple companies that are down at biolabs. Biolabs is essentially an incubator for scientists and science companies. You'll see that we started a mentorship program with the Marcus 9 class. That AVID program has now moved up to 10th grade. The mentorship has continued, and we have started 2 more rounds of mentors for Marcus 9 this year. So that's an exciting program that we got off the ground. You'll see many other opportunities, and that is in no way an exhaustive list of what Classroom Connections looked like last year. This is an exciting slide because our volley volunteer hours came back. You can see our couple of years there where volunteers were not really allowed in the classroom. You'll see where COVID hit us and basically cut volunteerism in half. Then you'll see the year where we couldn't really have volunteers on campus. And then last year you'll see, 33,000 plus volunteer hours logged in our volunteer system. So we were thrilled to be able to start having volunteers back in the system. You'll also see this snapshot was taken in late August, so that 44,475 is now over 45,000 volunteers in the volunteer system. So as we look ahead, you have heard that I have now transitioned over to the CTE team. That just allows for greater collaboration, but I am certainly still supporting all of our campuses and classroom teachers with their classroom speaker needs. I am specifically charged with the LHS and Colony High School Incubator EDU programs, where I was primarily supporting their board and sponsorship before. Now those are my programs, and I'm thrilled to report that I'm very proud of both of those teachers and the work they're doing right now. I'm doing a lot of collaboration with our CTE administrators in the back of the room. I'm thrilled to have them here. Our middle school STEM academies, we have done some coordinated planning for where and when we're going to bring in connections for career learning as it ties into their curriculum. So my last shout out to Jennifer Beimer and her team. Thank you. We've had multiple site visits as the world has opened back up, as businesses are kind of opening their doors again. You'll see in my presentation next year a lot of site visits and hands-on student learning, which has been very exciting already. Career Out this year will be in person only, and the reason for that is the bullet below, which is that we are beginning to offer virtual classroom connections throughout the entire year. Instead of saying we're just going to do shadowing on this one day for 3 hours, we have already had 3 Dell shadowing opportunities for our students. So instead of just that one concentrated day, one time, this will allow us to hit classrooms of students instead of a company that just wanted 4 students shadowing virtually. We'll take that opportunity from the company and say, let's offer it to this classroom of 20 students instead. Our volunteer engagement is continuing through Volley. We do plan on supporting the Wonder Wagon as that gets off the ground. We've already been meeting with Lori Klimek and her team to get volunteer support prepared for that. And then the last bullet is a new program that we have started in collaboration with the town of Flower Mound and the Flower Mound Chamber. We have a junior leadership Flower Mound program that is open to both Marcus and Flower Mound High School students. 33 students got accepted into this program, and essentially we are putting them through a program similar to a Leadership Flower Mound, Leadership Lewisville. They have a monthly meeting, 2 hours at a time. They visit a business, learn about the business, and then hear speakers on a specific topic to train them up in how to be leaders on their campus and in the community. What questions do you have for me?
Okay, gosh, that was a lot.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's wonderful stuff. It really is. We haven't heard from you in a while. Before I open it to the rest of the board, if anyone wants to say something, I wanted to say too, on your speech, Jason, I loved the signing day stuff. I neglected to say that, but and I saw a lot of feedback, real positive feedback on that too. So I love how we highlight those students as well. So. Anyone else? Good stuff? Good stuff? Okay. All right. Thank you. Oh, now, are we going to bring this up? But you both alluded to a lot of folks back here. Is there anybody you want to recognize?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
So we have Brooks Humphrey back in the back. We have Dr. Kristen Petrunin and Miriam Wine back here. We also have Doug Emery, our auto tech instructor. Surprised that we will recognize him. And then we have our 2 Career Center directors and / principals with Justin Gilbreth and Mr. Marino as well. So they do an awesome job, and they are very busy.
Yes. Well, thank you guys all for coming and for being here. Thank you so much. So, okay, I think that's it. Okay. And so now we are doing the Tech East expansion.
Yes, Mr. Cooper is going to stay, and Mr. Moreno is going to join him so that we can share with you the research and recommendations for the Tech East expansion.
All right. So as Mr. Marino's walking up here, we'll get our PowerPoint loaded up for the Tech East expansion. So just to kind of revisit the timeline, well, I guess before we talk about the timeline, we'll briefly touch on just what we'll be touching on tonight. So we understand that this is a process, and a process we don't take lightly anytime we're looking at our bond funds and looking at our Tech East expansion. And we've spent a lot of work over the last few years making sure that we've identified the appropriate programs, and we'll show you what all the work's been done. So looking at the timeline, 2017, the bond was passed for Tech West as well as the Tech East expansion. Students were surveyed on what programs to offer at Tech West. We were able to use that survey to also enhance what we were going to do at Tech East. We obviously spent 2018 through 2020 program planning and launching the Tech West campus. Once that was officially underway, we immediately started looking at the Tech East expansion and figuring out where the gaps still were. Some things that we've done on our end, area and regional CT director meetings, Career Center campus tours. Some of these were revisited from the Tech West original kind of site visits, but we circled back around with a lot of these. We also go to something else not mentioned up here. We go to our winter and summer CTAT annual conferences and just hearing what other districts are doing throughout the state and making sure that we aren't missing any gaps. 2021, we were approached by a potential industry partner on a program implementation, which we will discuss this evening. And this year, we're continuing to monitor the program wait list and hopefully begin finalizing programs and ideas for recommendations. So that's what got us to tonight. So bringing back up the tech wait lists, as I mentioned, the two that we're most actively monitoring are welding and auto tech. Everything else we've been able to, through different ways, been able to get a hold of. So wanted to bring that slide back up for you. As far as Career Center enrollments, obviously you will see a difference between 2020 or 2019 and 20 and 2020 21. So that's as we transition that left column from Dell Jackson to Tech West. Tech West is slightly larger, if you will, and then the Career Center East to Tech East transition was around that time. That enrollment has pretty much staying steady. We're pretty much capped out with all of the, we have one classroom left that we can use over at Tech East, and we still have a couple of spaces that we have for some overflow and some room for expansion at Tech West. But that shows with our current staffing units where we are with our enrollment. So what did we do? How did we land on the programs that we did? These are the consideration criteria that we used. Certifications, what certifications are available, and are these recognized? Are these recognized by TEA? Are these recognized by our industry partners? Programs of study, making sure that anything that we implement is not just a one-off course. We wanted to make sure it was an actual approved program study within TEA. Employment projections. This was probably the trickiest thing the past couple of years. There are some employment areas that took a little bit of a dip, and we had to make sure they were going to fully recover before we started looking at those for program implementation. So we're looking at pre-pandemic as well as current outlook. Industry partner and advisory board feedback. That's something we hold high value to make sure that what we're thinking and things that we're seeing and the trends that we're seeing is really where the industry is headed. And we look at our previous and current successes of programs in Lewisville ISD. We look at our wait list. We look at our student interest. We look at the bond surveys. All of those things that have really shown us success in LISD. And we're also highly aware of what's going on in surrounding school districts. All of us have strong contacts throughout the DFW area, but really all throughout the state of Texas, that we see what's everybody else doing and making sure that we're not behind the eight ball and when somebody else is already ahead of something. So these next two slides, I won't spend a lot of time on them, but these are some opportunities that we did consider. So diesel tech, which is auto and large trucks, so more of the bus, the large rig engines, aviation mechanic, barbering, printing and imaging, which would kind of complement what we do in AV. Then some 4 other programs. Political science, so this would be more of the law aspect, aviation piloting. Energy, this is a new program of study which we are able to implement with our new courses, but there's also a very new one that may have some potential opportunities in the future yet. It's just very young right now. And then nursing is something that we also wanted to make sure we considered. So now what are we recommending? And we'll go into these more in depth, but I wanted to highlight these first. So 2 new programs, dental program. This is the only one that would be utilizing current campus space at Tech East. So this would be involved in the expansion, but it would not be a brand new lab as a part of the expansion. This would be a converted space, which the expansion allows us to convert that space. Off-road diesel, and I'll explain more on that. This is where our industry partner has approached us. And then 2 areas for program expansion, auto tech expansion, which would include a working practicum lab, as well as a welding expansion to help our wait list and our current interest there. So going into these more in depth. So auto tech, why to expand auto tech opportunities? We've had a consistent high wait list because we do such an outstanding job in that program. We are highly recognized not only in the DFW area, but also throughout the state of Texas as one of the most premier auto tech programs in a high school. So Interlink is the employment projection data that we use. It's one of our industry partners, and we always lean on them for employment projections, targeted occupations for high demand, things like that. Auto tech is in the 22 through 27 list. No other district has currently been identified as having a working auto tech practicum lab. And the program, as I mentioned, is highlighted throughout the state of Texas. ASC actually holds their annual training conference every July at Tech East every summer because they want to show off our labs. This would allow us to be able to enhance the work-based learning experience without leaving campus. This would not replace them going to the dealerships. I want to make sure that was made clear. This would enhance what they do while they're still at the campus. This would also allow us to begin that work-based learning experience with our upper-level kids before they get into the practicum class. And this expanding this footprint also allows the flexibility to begin implementation of electrical vehicles in the future as need arises. I know that's kind of been some conversations of, hey, everybody sounds like they're going to electrical vehicles. I don't know if it was a year ago or 2 years ago, we actually approached our industry partners at our advisory board meeting about it, saying, do we need to start diving into this? And they said, just teach them the basics right now because electrical vehicles are so vast throughout each car line. You let them know that basically that they're out there and the basics, and then we'll take them from there. Potentially in the future, they may start streamlining a little bit more, and having an additional lab like this would allow us to get a little bit more concentrated effort as that need arises. So that's where we are with auto tech. Dental program. So this, as far as 21 data, anticipated job growth, 6% increase for dental lab tech, 15% increase for dentist specialists, and 9% increase for general dentists. Dental hygienist is listed in Interlink's 22 through 27 targeted occupations in high demand. Some certifications that are offered: certified dental assistant and registered dental assistant x-ray certification. These are on the new A3F accountability list for IBCs. And this has also been successfully implemented in multiple surrounding districts with longevity: Garland, Grand Prairie, Irving, Mesquite, and Rockwall ISD. So what is off-road clean diesel? So this is, diesel has become coming under large restrictions for health and safety. So off-road clean diesel is used by farms for agricultural use, industrial and construction vehicles that do not travel on public roadways. So the goal of this is to really obey those increased regulations. This would be your tractors, zero-turn mowers, side-by-side utility vehicles. This is an industry that has continued to gain traction and steam, and these are large. This has become highly popular, especially in recent years. So why offer this? There is an anticipated job growth of 7% increase through the 22 through 27 data, with an average of 7,200 annual openings. Diesel engine specialist, like I said, we're listed in the 22 through 27 in high demand. The potential industry partner that we have has 1,100 dealerships nationwide, and they are expecting to have a massive influx coming in of jobs needed for these students. They do offer an NC3 certification. Even though it's not currently on the TEA list, it is very similar to the ASC certification. Not all of the ASC certifications are on the list. This is very similar. And just a disclaimer, they do have some certifications being reevaluated because you can submit certifications to be reevaluated on that new list. And I know that NC3 was one of those that was submitted to be reevaluated. And as I mentioned, we were approached by an industry partner as the first high school in the state of Texas to start a training program. I believe they have 3 currently nationally, and both of them are at a community college or a technical school. So this would be a really neat opportunity for us. Similar to those that were around when we launched the National Training Center partnership with our electrical program, it's a similar setup with they already have the implementation guidelines ready. It's just waiting for somebody to jump on board. And we are the first district that they have approached for this. Other districts who tried something somewhat similar, Irving and Grand Prairie do offer the large diesel engine programs, but that is not the off-road clean diesel. A lot larger labs are needed. Obviously, when you're working on buses and large rigs, the space and scope completely change what you actually need. This is a much smaller lab for what off-road diesel would be. And then welding. Why expand the welding opportunities? Once again, it was listed in the 22 through 27 in high demand employment. It's expected to increase by 18% in that 5-year span. We do have a continued increasing wait list. I think it's knowledge of the industry, knowledge of the opportunities that don't just stop at graduating high school, and also the outstanding job that our programs have done with this. By expanding to another lab, it does allow us to always revisit and reconsider a dual credit lab if that's something we ever wanted to do. That was successful the first time we implemented at Tech West. The problem was we were limited on the number of seats we could use for dual credit versus maximizing our labs for AWS welding. So that's on our welding opportunities. So specifically, what would we need for each of these programs? Auto Tech would be a lab and a locker room. We actually do currently have a classroom space that we could use because we do have 3 current classrooms in Auto Tech for 2 teachers. This would be able to be used for that. Off-road diesel, classroom, lab, locker room, office storage, and tool room. The spacing for this would be similar to the size of our ag mechanics lab over at Tech West. Welding, this would mirror our welding lab over at Tech West. The difference is 1 additional classroom to allow that flexibility if we ever ventured into dual credit. So the lab, locker room, office storage, and tool room. And then once again, for the dental, it would be a classroom/lab, but we would be renovating current campus space and not as a part of that expansion square footage. So we are still continuing to investigate flight. This is something that has been rebounding since the COVID numbers, but it has been rebounding, but we are still researching some opportunities to implement it, including some continuing to monitor drones and unmanned aircraft, and what does this look like? We're waiting for a couple things to settle, but we have some ideas. This would not be required in the Tech East expansion, though. We do have some potential spaces that we could utilize for this, but it just wouldn't be as a part of the Tech East expansion. So I wanted to make sure we had that out there for you. Implementation timeline, I know this was shared by Mr. Fite last spring, but spring-summer of 23, we would be making our programming decisions and begin converting that potential space at Tech East. And then in the fall, we would potentially launch that dental program into that converted space. We would begin the expansion design phase with the architects, begin doing the planning and bid and estimated GMP, and then hopefully 2025 we'll be able to launch our new labs and programs over at Tech East. And that is where we are. So I'll use this opportunity to take any questions.
Okay. Anybody down here? Mr. Bonner? Dr. Bonner?
No questions, but unless my Canton High School math is wrong, it looks like more than 20% of the high school kiddos are involved in career and technology education.
Yes, sir.
And that number is growing, and that doesn't include the middle school kiddos. So hats off to you guys and ladies in the program for continuing to grow that in the best interest of our kiddos. So thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Prosnick?
I concur, you do a great job. My question is, what is the room currently being used for at Tech East that you want to remodel for the dental?
Currently, our pharmacy tech program is upstairs, and when we opened the building in 2010, that was the forensics lab. We created the new forensic space at Tech West, so I moved the pharmacy tech lab into that room because it's larger. But that space has everything we would need to create a dental program, so we could renovate that space and move pharmacy tech back to the pharmacy tech lab that was originally created in the building.
And then could you explain to me just a little bit what we expect from an industry partner and what they expect from us? I'm just curious what that looks like for
I'll let you start it first.
For the program.
The industry partner, it's obviously we have to purchase some of the equipment, but what they provide is instructor training, curriculum, the contacts to their dealerships for employment opportunities for our students. So basically, we become a training site for their techs, their diesel techs, and then they help place our students in employment opportunities in the area. And they, the best part about it, or one of the neat parts, is that they're providing, not only are we getting the equipment, but the content and the curriculum and the pathway through to the certification.
And I'm just going to put this out there. So what kind of an agreement do we sign with them, I guess is my thing. Is it a 5-year agreement? Is it a
We have not discussed the type of agreement with them yet until we know that it is worth pursuing. If that is something that the board is interested in us pursuing, then we will reach out to them and start to see what that MOA would look like with them and the extent and the time frames that are surrounding it. Being that we would be one of the first high schools to do this, I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of discovery on both sides trying to figure out how to make this work.
All right, thank you both.
Ms. Hassett?
For the welding, the expansion isn't going to be until 2025?
It would be 2025, correct.
How can we help the students in the meantime, magically?
So we do allow students who don't get into the welding program, we do encourage them to do ag mechanics because you at least start getting your hands on with it. Unfortunately, because of the number of welding booths we have, we're capped at where we are right now. So we do try to roll through as many as we can and help continue to grow that ag mechanics program, but until we launch it, we are somewhat limited. We maximize it as much as we can without being unsafe.
Oh, yeah, don't want to be unsafe. Okay, greatly appreciate it, and I love the idea that you're still looking at the aviation piloting. Thanks.
Very quick, I just want to say kudos. I'm so impressed. I always tell my daughter as a parent, my main thing is when I'm not here, I need you to have a career so you can support yourself because I won't be able to give you any money. So I think that this is great because we understand that not every child will go to college or even wants to go to college. And I just say kudos for matching up a career path for them that equals, success and something that's in demand. So kudos.
Thank you.
I want to ditto Ms. Hassett's comment on the aviation. I hear about that quite a bit from just like out in the community. Why don't y'all offer this? Well, so anyway, I'm glad that that's on the radar. The only thing that I was going to ask that I think will be kind of good for anyone who's listening is, so once we do this expansion, assuming that it's passed, and everything very soon, what will be the differences now between Tech East and Tech West? Like, are they going to pretty much be alike, or what would you have to go to Tech East or Tech West to do specifically?
They would not mirror each other. They would still, so we would have a few programs that would be depending on where you're zoned. So cosmetology would be run the same way as welding. So we'd have welding at both, we'd have cosmetology at both, AV at both, but they are a little bit of a different focus. And then from there, they do start separating themselves, especially in the upper tiers. Health science, you can start the lower levels at one of the two, but once you start getting into the capstones, and that is something that we always look at and kind of see, but once you start getting into the equipment and the different things with the space that we have, mirroring them identical would eliminate us, or would start eliminating certain programs that we offer. So they will be pretty separate.
Okay, great. Just curious. Thank you so much. All right.
One final comment. Ultimately, I'm so thankful to them for all the research and time that the team has spent looking at these different options. And, I think back to whenever we presented with the team the research on things to put at Tech West. And, of course, Mr. Moreno and I believe Ms. Seeley, I saw her back there as well, were part of those recommendations. And there was a lot of talk about cybersecurity. There was a lot of questions at that time. And now looking at it, I've been on so many tours with Tech West, and I see people say, y'all are so smart for having added cybersecurity. What a marketable career. Those people that are doing that will be able to write their paycheck into the future, and that was very future forward thinking at that time, and I really appreciate the research that went into that. And I think the same thing here. I think the opportunity to have dental, the opportunity to have this off-road clean diesel, I'm still trying to wrap my mind around exactly what that looks like, but additionally just welding and then what's going on with our automotive program and ensuring we have space for electric vehicles and planning for that already, I just think is something, I'm just really, really proud of. And I just thank you all for your support in the aviation, the fact that we can probably expand some opportunities for that and not have to have a large space, because ultimately what we were looking at was aviation mechanics. This is different from that. Now that we've had time to look at it, we don't need to go the mechanic route. So y'all have had just amazing presentations with the learning and teaching section this evening. I'm so proud of all of them, from pre-K, CTE, and business partnerships.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. All right, Mr. Kosh, you're up.
I'm actually going to take this one also. We're going
Okay, great.
Sorry to throw you off, but going forward with our School Health Advisory Council, we have several who collaborate on this committee. Melanie Vincelette, Trish Kuckler, Jennifer Beimer, and Manya Crow are going to be sharing with you an update on the shack from last year and a preview for this year.
Good evening. First off, I'd like to thank Jason for giving me some intel. Frequently, we compete for the same nursing staff. So, good to know, Jason. Expansion, etc. Well, thank you all for having us for our yearly update. This one's particularly exciting. Just kidding. First off, I just want to point out that we have Manya Crow from Counseling and Social Work with us, and Jennifer Beimer's here from Learning and Teaching. They led some of our subcommittees, and Trish and I led the third one. Just to give you a reminder about our membership, we promote that every year. We ask people to apply, and typically I'm so proud to say that we really don't have that many openings, and we do look when we're researching all of our applicants, we make sure that we get representatives from all 5 feeder patterns. We look for different different careers, different ages in the kids that they have, and not everyone has kids, but we really try to bring diversity into the shack. Our district level membership are most of us here. We've got people from special ed, child nutrition, many from learning and teaching, and I have several nurses that are on it too. Because why? Well, the last 6 or 7 years that I've been up here, we pretty much are handling legislative mandates, and the same was said for this year. So we had to look at resources for elementary growth and development, resources for secondary reproductive and sexual health, and then Senate Bill 9 had some things in it that Manya had to take forward and get approval from the shack as well. We met 5 times, some big topics this year. We'll probably meet 5 times again this year, and really good participation and dedication on behalf of the members of the council. I just want to applaud them for that.
All right, Subcommittee 1. So based on the adoption of our new health TEKS, a district review committee was formed to consider instructional materials. The SBOE did not adopt any resources for districts to consider. Therefore, the committee reviewed resource options from vendors looking for TEKS alignment. In fifth grade, due to the lack of resources, it was recommended that the SHAC committee consider the video Always Changing that has been approved and used in prior years. SHAC determined it would be appropriate for continued use. And in fourth grade, due to the lack of resources, the SHAC recommendation was to continue seeking additional options to determine if any meet the needs of our district. And this will be completed during the 22-23 school year.
Okay, for the secondary subcommittee, for high school, the subcommittee reviewed the Goodhart-Wilcox instructional material resource, and it was within the strand of reproductive and sexual health TEKS. It was recommended and moved forward by the teacher committee. The resource was then recommended by SHAC as well, and to the school board and approved in June and is being implemented this school year. For middle school, it was a different situation. There's an overlap of standards across multiple grade levels, so it was actually one resource for grades 6 through 8. So the teacher committee that reviewed it last year requested more time, and they actually met this summer, and they are ready for SHAC to review those materials this year. So that's what we'll be looking at in the secondary subcommittee this year for middle school. Appropriateness for grade level 6 through 8, alignment to the TEKS, and that it reflects the community values.
Senate Bill 9 brought us 4 topics this year that shifted from an active opt-out that a parent would want their children to receive this instruction, or passive opt-out to an active opt-in. So our subcommittee looked at materials for child abuse, family violence, dating violence, and sex trafficking. The committee reviewed the materials from the Children's Advocacy Center of North Texas and recommended utilization for those 4 topics to cover the materials or the mandates in Senate Bill 9.
All right, and then we had the pleasure this year of tasting food from Aramark. They brought items that they'd either recently added to the school menu or were considering adding, and we got to give them feedback. It was a big hit with our members. And then just a reminder of some of the programs that SHAC continues to support for our students. So we have our 21-day challenge, which has broadened its scope. So no longer is it just healthy snacking. They are now covering physical activity and social emotional learning. And because of that, we were able to partner with Tech West students who filmed our students and edited the videos and were added to the program. We also had our Tech East students win the graphic design contest again this year. They are awesome. And then we have our Fuel Up to Play 60, which again encourages students to participate in 60 minutes of physical activity every day. And we have our Kids Heart Challenge, which teaches our children the impact of a healthy lifestyle on their heart. And then our 21-day challenge at work program, which we've had great response to that.
So this coming school year, on the October 17th meeting, you're going to have a consent item for our new members. We have 7 voting members moving forward for your consideration. As you heard, Jennifer and myself, we both on our committees are going to continue to review resources that meet the TEKS for our specific areas. Manya is she's a slave to the darn subcommittees. She's back on, but with a different topic. She's going to look at some locally developed programs that meet her SEL for middle school. Child nutrition and the SHAC will look at the district wellness plan, review and revise as needed. And again, we'll just continue volunteering for those tastings that Aramark gives us. And they did promise us this year that they are going to go ahead and cook us a dinner. So we're looking forward to that. And
one note I think is important, and I'm so appreciative for the work of this group, and I enjoy getting to attend a SHAC meeting each year as well. But of course, I just think it's important to say that anything that the SHAC takes a look at is in response to either legislative mandates or the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills. And so anytime there are questions about any content that's expected to be taught in classrooms, I would always encourage parents to look at Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills for all the content areas, including health, along with the character education TEKS or any of the character education programs that are listed online on TEA's website. And we're happy to help answer any questions about that, but you can find all of that information on the Texas Education Agency website.
Ms. Smith? Ms. Taylor, sorry. I was looking at her.
And this may be a question for Dr. Rapp, and it can be followed up later. I just wanted to know a percentage of parents that had opted in, I guess. Is that the new term?
It is. We've run the preliminary numbers because the month of October is dedicated to our Red Ribbon campaign. So as we prepare for this, we have a very large majority that are choosing to opt in.
Okay. Thank you.
This end of the table? Nope. Okay. Thanks, you guys, for your work. Appreciate it. All right. Now it's Ms. Smith.
Good evening. As you know, tonight class size waivers are simply a discussion item. We plan to bring this back in the October 17th meeting as an action item. Class size waivers, each year the Texas Education Agency requires school districts to conduct a class size enrollment survey for grades kindergarten through 4th grade and submit a request for exception for classrooms that exceed the class size of 22 students per teacher. This year, as it stands now, we have 15 campuses with 25 classrooms that exceed the 22 students per teacher class size. Of those 25, 22 of them are over by one student with 23, and then we have 3 classes that are over by 2 students. So all of the waiver exceptions have either 23 or 24 students. I will just say to you that this is really due in large part due to our teacher shortage. We have worked very closely in the HR department with the chiefs of schools. Probably the first 3 weeks of schools, we met daily looking at enrollment. We worked to make changes throughout the district as we could to deal with the enrollment needs across the district. And right now, we're sitting with these needs for these 25 classrooms. When we bring this back on the 17th for your approval, if they are approved, then we will obviously send the letters that are required to parents, provide the written notice that the state has granted the exceptions to the parents. And I provided you a list both in your board document and then in the Friday updates. So with that, do you have any questions about the waivers?
I'm just going to make one quick note that, of course, we always work, even after we provide you all this information, to update you should we have to add any more after the October approval as well.
Great. Thank you. All right, Ms. Maloney.
Thank you, Vice President Lasan, Dr. Rapp, members of the board. As Mr. Fite's making his way up to the podium, we have 4 items this evening. On this first one, it is a 2017 bond financial update. And as a reminder, we have been covering that topic in the board 2x2s for September, have 1 left of those. And what we're trying to do is look at our savings currently and what we're projecting in savings over the next 18 months for the final projects in the 2017 bond. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Fite.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Dr. Rapp and the board. So as Ms. Maloney mentioned, this first update is just a kind of an overall summary of the 2017 bond. So you've seen some of these slides before. Definitions for tonight, we're really only talking about active projects. So anything that is a current project that's encumbered, really those savings are not yet shown on the numbers that you'll see. And also numbers will change as we move forward, as you've seen in the past. Obviously, as we use some of these funds, we have an action item tonight that may do that. Also, as we close more projects out, we're hoping to have more additional savings coming in. And for every single project, the breakdown, really there's two parts to every single project. You have construction cost, which really comes out to the GMP, and then you also have project soft costs, which we don't talk about too often at the board level. But for every project, you have all the architect fees, engineering fees, commissioning, furniture, fixtures, and equipment, just all these other things that we purchase that's on top of that GMP that makes up the total project budget. So these are definitely rerun. The board saw these last month as we did the presentation on the Colony High School project. A couple of little updates here. Obviously, year one is completely closed out. All those projects are done. Year two, I do have a note on here that Memorial Elementary School will be on the agenda on October 17th. We will have savings returning on that project, so that's good news. You'll see a couple of pictures later on of Liz Dola, and that fiber project, again, is tied to that. It was all one GMP, but got some good updates on Liz Dola tonight. The rest of year two projects are all complete and closed out. Year three, we're substantially complete with those top three. All the rest are closed out. And year four, I have a note, you will also see Wellington Elementary School playground replacement as a closeout on October 17th agenda. That one won't have savings coming back. It's really kind of tied to that main Wellington project. That's where you'll see the savings. And then year five, I just have the note here that there's two projects left, the Tech East addition, which you heard a lot about tonight, and the Colony High School multipurpose facility, press box replacement, and fiber installation, which you will hear about later tonight as well. So this slide here was shared with the board last week during the September 2x2s, and just some items to note on this slide are we do have the complete updated GMP price for the Colony shown on here. We have included a 20% escalation for the Tech East project, and that's just our best guess at this point in time. That's, again, that GMP is over a year away, so a lot of things could change. So we have the total allocated for projects shown as $130,616,414. We also have noted here total allocated for remaining projects. We have about 7.6 available there, and we also have the savings shown from September and October of $2.7 million. That came from Bridlewood, Prairie Trail, Lakeview, and again, Memorial Elementary School. This slide does not include any land sale numbers on it. And we are showing a slight deficit on this slide, but again, that Tech East addition, that GMP is not needed for a full year. We're very confident that we will have other savings returning in that next year time frame. So it's very important. I've showed this slide before, but it's, again, just a great reminder that we had very good project savings throughout this entire bond. And really, this slide is kind of shows we spent over $15 million. We were able to spend over $15 million on these items that you see on the slide here. A couple of change orders, the emergency radio responder system at the high schools. I mean, that wasn't even a bond project. So we were able to do some great projects as shown on here, some parking lot additions. We were able to handle all those fine arts overages that we talked at length about in the past. That was about $8 million. So again, just because we're seeing the current amount of savings today doesn't mean we didn't have a lot of savings throughout this entire bond. And now I'll turn it over to Brian. I'll go ahead and stay up here. I'm here for a little while tonight, so.
Thank you, Randy. Sure, I'll take it. I don't have many slides on this, but just an update on the safety and security project update. So there was $28.8 million in the 2017 bond for safety and security. Those projects were primarily managed by new construction, safety and security, and technology. So this list of projects should look familiar. Essentially, these are all completed projects at this point. Access control, fire alarm, phone replacement system, lighting, district-wide emergency notification, our expansion of our security cameras, vestibules, and communication and network access, which would be some of our fiber build-out projects. So the remaining balance of that is at $0. So those particular projects are done. On the area of technology, hopefully this looks familiar to you as well. In the 2017 bond, there was just over $99 million allocated for technology. That was basically in two different buckets. One is really around device access for students and staff, which totaled over $59 million. And then the network and infrastructure side, which would include our data centers, campus sound and paging systems, as well as classroom tech, was just over $39 million. So when we look at where we sit currently in the area of device access for students and staff, there's just over $14 million in the budget. We do have some projects that are, I guess, completed, but also coming up without necessarily another bond or another funding source coming up. What we've been doing is trying to onboard new devices for incoming fourth grade. So that's a project that we would anticipate bringing back to the board sometime probably around January, February. Certainly with supply chain, that's a concern for us. In the area of program specific, we still have some work to do there, finishing out some of our CTE labs, our world language labs. We're going to talk a little bit during the October 17th update around shared device access and some piloting we're doing. But essentially that our MacBook carts that are out on campuses, that's one big project that we haven't taken care of, and we're looking at different ways to do that maybe differently, hopefully more affordably as well. And then some other standards around some of our specific programs in GT and fine arts. In the area of network and infrastructure, currently there's just shy of $6 million remaining. Some items that we're trying to close out would be our campus sound and paging. We are also going to have our cybersecurity upgrades, which some of the stuff is essentially we've done it already. However, the gear that we put in, the licensing and software that comes with that is going to be expiring. So we're going to be bringing information back to the board on that. Also, our fiber WAN project, which is on the agenda later, I'll get into more detail there. Obviously, we're also replacing our switches in our data closets, our UPSs for power supply, and then there's also a topic on the agenda tonight regarding the licensing, again, kind of in the same vein as the cybersecurity. That equipment, the licensing and software is expiring, we're going to have to renew that. So those will be items that we'll be bringing back to the board for more discussion and action. I think that's a wrap. Gavin, can you advance?
Yeah, I have the slides right here. It says the next one is questions/thank you. So I think you
There we
want
go.
that.
Perfect.
There you go.
Questions?
Okay.
And thank you.
Okay. So anyone down there, down here? Okay, all right. So next then is your construction update, right?
Yes, ma'am. And I promise I'll go quickly. I've got a lot of slides, a lot of pictures, but it's the best way to show construction progress. So I'm pleased to provide an update on the construction work from this summer. So first, we'll kind of look at the list of projects that we worked on this summer. We'll start with the elementary 20 refreshes. One thing it's important to remember, it was a very challenging summer from a standpoint of material lead times this summer. So while we got every school, substantially complete, obviously we started school on every single campus, but there are some items remaining on a lot of these, and Mr. Colbeck hit on, lead times on technology-related items, AV-related items. So you'll see some common themes on these. So the elementary 20-year refreshes, Bluebonnet Elementary was the only first summer, so we'll be there again next year to finish that one up. Homestead, Southridge, and Wellington were all summer 2. And on the list of kind of what's remaining, Homestead, we got some tack wall that will arrive at the end of October. That's in the hallways and a couple of classrooms. The old is in place until the new shows up, and that'll be swapped on nights and weekends. Southridge, we're just waiting on a new marquee sign. Right now, that's showing a December delivery date for that marquee sign. Again, that's one of those kind of technology-related items. And then Wellington, we have the permanent doors. I got word today that I believe we have them now finally, so those will start being installed on nights and weekends. We've got some front canopy work, roofing, and walk-in cooler freezer to be completed on the holiday breaks. I did include the list of the contractors on all these just for everybody's information. The high school 20-year refreshes, we had Flower Mound and Hebron High School. This was the final summer for both of those. We've been at both of those campuses for a long time. At both of those, you'll see STC doors is a very common theme on all of our fine arts projects. An STC door is basically a sound transmission rated door used in a fine arts area to help provide some soundproofing. Those are very long lead time, and so it doesn't matter who the contractor is. We had delays across the board, and so STC doors and for each one of those, we do have temporary doors in place. They are secure. They're just not the rated sound doors. So we have sound doors, some room signage, and some portals in library entrance. I'll have some pictures to show what that means. And then elevator work to be completed over the holidays, and we're working out some HVAC punch list items out there. Hebron High School, we have those STC doors again, library doors, room signage, and some additional PLAM that we ordered to kind of change out the worst PLAM panels in the school. On our middle school fine arts projects, we had Creek Valley Middle School. We are substantially complete. We have those doors hanging out and a few AV items, projector-related items. DeLay Middle School, I've got some neat pictures of this. That was, if you remember, we had to do a change order because when we got into the walls, we found out we didn't have the correct structural wind bracing in those walls. So I got some good pictures to show there. We are substantially complete with that work. Durham Middle School, we're substantially complete, and we have the doors there. That's the one campus. We are just waiting on some AV items. And then Lamar Middle School, a new addition is ongoing. The renovation will follow next summer, so really that target substantial completion date's next year. So I'll be back this time next year to hopefully have some pictures of that one. Our high school fine arts projects, I've reported in the weekly updates a couple of times. Flower Mound High School is our project that is behind schedule right now. We had some delays early on through the permitting process, and then we had some delays through the piers, the drilling of the piers. Right now we're showing a substantial completion date target of May of 2023. And I mentioned in the update as well that we had to use a lot of contingency funds for those two items. And so I may be back asking for some additional contingency funds to use there. Hebron High School, the Fine Arts Edition piece is occupied. The new black box target completion is October. We're working through the move-in on that right now. Lewisville High School, substantially complete. At Marcus High School, there was no addition at Marcus. It was only interior renovation. We're still waiting on those doors. And there's also an exterior screen wall that we're installing outside the building. That was a separate permit, actually. And then our miscellaneous projects. We had a couple of flooring jobs at Coyote Ridge Elementary School and LHS Kilo. Both of those are done. Lakeview Middle School electrical is done, and fire alarm is done. And Lamar Middle School electrical, we have some work to do there over the holiday break. We had some pieces that were delayed due to material lead time. Liz Dola, I've got some nice pictures to show. Our fence is finally complete out there, and the marquee sign is up, and all we're waiting on now is that shade structure. It's been on order for quite some time. McCullough Elementary Pre-K Playground is on order. It's supposed to be here at the end of this month, and we will start installing that once it arrives. A very small playground there. And then we have some photos later of the West Side Aquatics renovations. We are working on that. Right now our target completion is January 2023. So, upcoming projects, I've mentioned these a couple of times actually. The Colony High School project, Tech East project, it's been talked about a lot tonight. And then I did put on here the Student Success Center parking renovations. This is something that we were asked to work on, and that work will take place next summer. All right, so now on to the pictures, and I'll go fairly quickly through these. So the fine arts, it's a lot of the same type of space, but we'll start with Homestead Elementary 20-year refresh. Some great pictures of the kind of the finished work there. New furniture in the library, new flooring, obviously finishes. Same thing, picture of the library. There's a picture of the stage lighting, stage curtains in the cafeteria. There's a shot of one of the gang restrooms with the new ceramic tile. A lot of nice textures on ceramic tile nowadays. It really is an upgrade for the building. It's just a picture of inside the restroom. And South Ridge. This is a look down kind of that main corridor at the edge of the library there, the new finishes. There's a picture of one of the classrooms, and here's a great shot of the flexible furniture that we provide on the 20-year refreshes. Again, in the classroom, you can see the tack wall, the short throw projector, and idea board there. That's all part of the 20-year refresh as well. And this is one of my favorite logos that we've done. We worked with communications, and they came up with a fantastic design. That's all out of the flooring material, so we just had to select the right colors there, and it just turned out great. Again, that looks pretty familiar. Same kind of ceramic tile at South Ridge. And then Wellington, a picture of a classroom Wellington. The gymnasium, again, this is the new flooring that we're using. It's made to look like a wood floor, but it's actually a vinyl product. Upgraded hallway, ceramic tile benches. And there's a picture of their library. And there's ceramic tile. It's hard to see in that picture, but that blue tile on the water fountain wall has a nice texture on it as well. And a picture of the restroom. Blue Bonnet 20-year refresh, pretty simple. We just did ceiling and above this year, so there's your new roof. And a couple of HVAC units and gas piping there. Flower Mound High School 20-year refresh. So this is choir. This is one of the fine arts areas that was worked on this summer. And then here's orchestra. This is when you walk into the campus. Just some new signage and paint, kind of looking beyond that wall is the cafeteria there. And then here's a picture down the hallway. On the library would be on your left-hand side here. Shows the new lighting. And then this is the administrative area, offices in the campus. That work was done this summer as well. And Hebron High School 20-year refresh. So the library doors on the right-hand side there, we still have to change those doors out, but the rest of that whole entrance is brand new. Again, the new lighting. Now, this is an image of what the portals are. So Hebron has theirs installed already. Flower Mounds are still on order. So at every classroom intersection to this main hallway, you'll see kind of that wood portal, that's what we call it. And it turns out it really makes the space, really breaks up that hallway and just looks fantastic. And then here's another image looking down towards the cafeteria and main office area. Fine arts is the area that was worked on this summer at Hebron High School. So there's the hallway outside fine arts. A couple of images of the fine art spaces, band practice rooms, and the drama classrooms. Hebron High School Black Box Theater, just a quick image of the outside where the addition's going. And some images of the band, the new band hall there. Offices. Lewisville High School Fine Arts, same thing, just kind of images of the new areas. Ensemble room there. And then Marcus High School Fine Arts. So these all start to look very familiar, right? We use same materials on each. There's practice room for Marcus. And Flower Mound. So Flower Mound, this is the one that's a little bit behind. So this is a picture of grade beams. This is hopefully we're about to pour the slab out there and start going vertical very soon. And there is some picture. There's one little area that we are already vertical out there, but the new addition, the main addition portion, is the one that's a little bit behind. Storm shelter as well. Creek Valley Middle School. There's a picture of where the addition went on to the building, and there's some images from the inside. With all of these middle school fine arts renovations, all the areas got renovated, right? So it wasn't just the addition. We also renovated band and orchestra and choir. Durham Middle School, same thing. There's a picture of where the addition sits. Images inside. Lamar, so this is one. There's the fire lane. We actually had to pour that fire lane before we were allowed to do anything, go vertical at all. So the fire marshal has to have his fire trucks be able to roll on the backside of that building before we can actually go vertical. So here's an image of grade beams. Again, hoping to get the slab poured on this one very soon as well. All right, so DeLay Middle School Fine Arts, these are pretty neat. So that structural member that you see there, okay, that's installed, so that's a brand new structural member we put in for wind bracing. And then here's from the other side. So there's a fur down that covers that. Nobody even knows it's there. So there's a picture of one of the gang restrooms. The back wall was removed. You can see the structural bracing back there. And then here's completed. So nobody knows it's there. Now this one, they do know it's there. So there's very limited light in that cafeteria. And so we would have had to eliminate an entire window in there. We worked with the campus, worked with the architect, and we decided to go ahead and fur the bottom of that out and just have that X bracing go through and leave that natural light. Because those are really the only two windows you have in that cafeteria. And then this is in the gymnasium, so you'll see the kind of those two columns in there. Those had to have X bracing put in between them. And so now that whole thing is furred out. They've got a brand new logo in there. So that turned out really nice. I put this in here. It's kind of a neat picture to show. We talk about electrical upgrades, but people rarely see kind of what's involved in that. That's the main switchgear of the building. And so when you're talking about that size wire, it's pretty impressive. A couple of flooring pictures. This was Coyote Ridge Library, classroom. There's Killa. media center, art class, and an office. All right, Liz Dola. So there's our brand new marquee. And really, this is probably about the only campus we could put this type of marquee at. And it turned out fantastic. I'm really, really excited about that one. And then you can see the new fencing behind it. It's unique as well. So it's intended to be part of the outdoor nature center, right? So here's another picture. Kind of hard to see, but you can see that fence that goes all the way down to the end, to the dam entrance there. And then finally, West Side Aquatics renovation. So this first picture just kind of shows how much masking is involved with the paint work there to recoat all those surfaces. So a lot of work has actually taken place already. Even though we are waiting for the big equipment is still on order. But we've addressed all the handrails. You can see those are all painted now, even in the bathrooms and on the diving wells. And then this is the shot of all the electrical work that has taken place in preparation for the new HVAC system there. So that's all the pictures. So do you have anybody have any questions? Sure.
Are marquee signs now part of our ed spec?
They're in the ed spec. It's part of the facilities assessment document. So
Okay.
It's scored in that document as well.
Just because it's, to me, it seemed hit or miss
Right.
of who gets a new marquee sign at their
Yep.
20-year refresh and who doesn't, and so
Right.
that's just why I asked.
Right, yeah, we typically go by the score and the assessment, and then one of our cities that we work with doesn't allow electronic marquees for elementary schools, so unfortunately for those campuses. But all right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else got anything for Randy? No? All right. Don't you jump out of here. No. Okay. All right. So facilities assessment document and input process.
Yes, thank you. And as Mr. Hughes is making his way to the podium, we did discuss and have reported that we're adding this new component to the facilities assessment document, and it's kind of a qualitative component with our facility review committee, and Mr. Hughes will elaborate on that.
Okay, now I'm on. All right, what a great segue Randy just did to a lot of the items that you just looked at were identified in our assessment document. So with that, I am presenting the 2022 Facilities Assessment Document and a new facility input process for campus administrators. So why do we need to assess our facilities and why the need for the document? And to answer that question, it really is that LISD has a lot of facility assets. LISD is the 96th largest school district nationally. It's the most current figure I could find, and that's out of over 13,000 districts. And so what that means for us is we have literally billions in facility assets that we need to track and maintain. Those assets are located amongst 79 sites containing just under 10 million square feet. That square footage is in 39 elementary schools, 15 middle schools, 10 high school level campuses, 2 career centers, as you've heard about tonight, a learning center, an early childhood campus, which you also heard about tonight, 2 aquatic centers, 5 stadiums, and multiple athletic support buildings, administrative buildings as well. And so lots of assets. So some highlights of LISD's facilities assessment is that it is completely developed and maintained in-house, which is a significant savings for the district. It does provide a method to identify and manage current and future facility needs, which we're going to talk about. Also, for ours, every facility and major building system and component was inspected and evaluated by LISD facilities personnel. These are the people who maintain those systems every day, and so they're the ones who know these systems and components the best. The study also provides a comprehensive look at the age and condition of each of those major building components. And of course, this is a living document that's revised annually. This is, surprised to me, the actual 7th revision. 2022 is the 7th revision, so been doing this for a while. And just an FYI at the bottom there, items included in the 2017 bond referendum are actually highlighted in orange in the notes column of the assessment. Okay, so let's take a look at how the document actually works. So each system or component is evaluated using the data points defined here. This is actually the first page inside the document, as you can see here. So those data points include life cycle, which is just the length of time in years that a product is expected to perform under normal circumstances. And we derive those life cycles, as you can see. They're derived from a number of sources, including industry standards, manufacturer recommendations. We also use regulatory agencies such as the National Fire Protection Agency for items like fire sprinklers and fire alarm systems and things of that nature. Historical experience, of course, is also used to develop some life cycles. And also, there's lots of publications out there and resources for us, such as, this is one I've listed here, is the Planning Guide for Maintaining School Facilities, which has been a great resource for us. Sorry. Now, the next item is the last replaced column, and that just denotes the year that the item that we're evaluating was last replaced or was new. Then the next item, data point that we're going to look at is the percent life remaining. And this is just a simple ratio of the age to the expected life cycle. And so if you have an item with a life cycle of, say, 20 years and it's 10 years old, you're going to get 50% of the particular item's life remaining. That's what's going to be in that column. The next data point that we look at is a visual evaluation. And this is a score given by facilities personnel of how that item is currently performing relative to where it should be, relative to what its life cycle should be. Next is we're going to look at the work order history, and this evaluates the labor and material cost associated with maintaining that particular item. The number in this column represents the benefit or penalty that the work order history has on the previous two scores, and we're going to look at that in just a second. And then, of course, all of that is used to generate what we call the total assessment score, and we feel like this is it's the average of the percent life remaining and the visual evaluation scores plus the work order history benefit or penalty. And we feel like this gives us the most accurate assessment of that particular component or item when we're using that for capital planning. Okay, so let's review what this looks like in practice. This is an excerpt from the document, as you can see at the top left there. This is Lily J. Jackson Early Childhood Center. It was built in 2005, which makes it 17 years old. It's 88,290 square feet. And, of course, the current year is 2022. And if you look over to the right, you'll see the assessment scale. And so we score everything on a 0 to 100% scale, with 100 being new or newly replaced, and then 0, of course, being that component or item is at the end of its life cycle. So here you can see those data points that we just discussed on the previous slide in action. And so, if you will, the first column in life cycle in years, if you just look at that, you'll see a lot of our life cycle items in this example happen to come out in 20 years, and thus the need for the 20-year refresh. Although even in this example, you can see some items that have differing life cycles, such as the electrical switchgear. Thanks, Randy, for that picture. So you can see what that means. We have actually a 30-year life cycle on that. And you'll see that the fire safety sprinkler system has a life cycle of 50 years, which you actually pull from NFPA recommendations. The next item is the last replaced column. You can see that the majority of these items are original to the original construction of the building in 2005, although you can see there under HVAC controls, we did replace the HVAC controls in 2018 using some 2008 bond funds. Next column is that percent life remaining. Again, that is just that ratio of its age to its life cycle. And so you can see that straight math and the percent life remaining of that particular item, how much is left to its life cycle. The next item is the visual evaluation, and this is where the facilities personnel will go out and actually score that and say, okay, is this item performing where it should be? Is it performing worse? We feel like it's where it should be using their professional opinion. And then next is the work order history column, and that, again, is the benefit or penalty after reviewing the labor and materials costs of that particular system, how that affects the total assessment score in that formula. And so then that takes us to the total assessment score, which again is a percentage of the life cycle remaining that allows us to quickly do some capital forecasting for what's going to be needed. And then as the items, when they get within 10% or less of their life cycle, we have the document actually automatically highlight those or change the color of the score to red so we can easily identify those and get them on the radar. So I hope this appears very straightforward how it works. And it worked very well for this, but where our document really shines is on the not so simple buildings, and I want to kind of show you what I mean by that. So this was an example of one of our initial evaluations for the document. This is an addition study at Marcus High School. You may recognize it with the round rotunda there on the bottom right. So on this study, you can see that the original part of the building opened in 1981. That's the unshaded section that you see there. It was quickly followed up with some additions. 1982 in the dark red was the ag building addition, and that which is now the robotics lab. And then in the kind of the aqua color in 1983, we got an athletics expansion and some fine arts kind of on both sides. In 1984, we got a cafeteria expansion and some dining area. In 1988, what we know as the S-Swing now was added to the campus there in purple. And then in 1989, the kind of your bottom right was the auditorium addition. In 1997, we got some more athletic spaces kind of in the magenta color. And then in 2000, we got what is now the west, the W wing, I'm sorry, there in the darker blue. And in 2008, we got the large gym addition. And then, of course, in 2014, we got some fine arts additions, the ninth grade center, and the activity center addition. So the takeaway from this slide is that although Marcus appears to be, one building, each one of these additions have multiple systems and components that will have different life cycles that should be evaluated and tracked. I've lost connection. Oh, okay, I'm back. Okay, this is just another quick example. This is just looking at one component. This was an early evaluation of just the flooring. So this is just a flooring study. This is at Hebron High School. Some of this has already been changed, but this is just to show you kind of just one component and how that can get a little more complicated than what you'd initially think. So on here, you can see the kind of the legend at the top left. This is a number of different types of flooring. You have carpet in the blue, you have vinyl tile, you have wood, you have terrazzo, epoxy, and even some rubber flooring. So the carpet typically has a life cycle of around 15 years. Vinyl tile, 20 years. Wood floors, like in gyms and stages, actually have a life cycle of around 40 years. And then terrazzo even has a life cycle of 50 years. And so, as you can see, even in one component, it gets pretty complicated in having to track those separately in the amount of square footage so that you can have some good, some budgeting and capital planning for replacement of those items. So, as I mentioned, jumping back to Marcus very quickly, I know this is small, but this shows how our document actually scales very well when things get a little more complicated. And is able to track all of those components of different areas and ages. It also shows you other assets that the document tracks aside from the main building. You can see the gray rows there separate, actually show the athletic stadium and the items being tracked, the 2010 field house that's on site, the indoor athletic center that's its own building, baseball fields, softball fields, tennis courts. All of those are able to be tracked. Also might mention, as you can see, the different color ranges, those are just there to quickly help us see what the item is. So the first item there in the dark blue is those 7 HVAC systems that are of different ages that we're able to track on Marcus High School. Okay, so that wraps up the portion for the actual assessment document and the update. And now I'd like to talk about a new facility input process that we're excited about. I've been working with Mr. Kaj and Mrs. Maloney. Thank you very much. And this is going to be an additional tool to give campuses a means to communicate what their needs and their priorities are at their particular campus. As I mentioned earlier, the assessment document actually scores really existing items, items that exist at those particular campuses. So if you have campus needs that are outside of that, say you need additional storage, that's not going to show up in our assessment document because it doesn't exist currently. Other items such as space insufficiencies that we wouldn't necessarily know about from our document, they would be able to provide those by this process. And it really could be anything that they feel is a need at their campus, even down to recurring facility issues as I've listed there. These needs, of course, would be documented and reviewed by administration and hopefully be in conjunction moving forward with our facilities assessment document. And that would allow us to prioritize our resources and for future capital planning. And so what this process looks like, right now we're developing it, but what we'd like to do is establish a facility review committee at each campus. And the makeup of this at secondary campuses would be a minimum of 5 representatives. We're thinking the assistant principal over the building and potentially the principal, and then also an athletics representative, a fine arts representative, and then 2 classroom representatives. And then at the elementary campuses would contain a minimum of 3 representatives, again, the principal or the AP or the AP, and 2 classroom representatives. And then that facility review committee would then, as I mentioned, perform an annual facility review in conjunction with our assessment. And so the timeline for this is to meet with the campuses to outline the purpose and to develop the committees this fall, with the first facility review data due this coming spring. All right, and so that wraps up. And before questions, I have provided physical books. I'm sure you've seen them of the assessment document at your seats. If you do not care for a physical book, feel free to leave them. We'll collect them after the meeting. And also would like to mention that the document has been uploaded to the district's website. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, everyone take out their book, turn to page 5, and we'll begin there. No? Okay. All right, anyone else have any questions? Thank you. This is just a massive undertaking, and, I know that I believe Ms. Prosnick and Ms. Sells worked on this in the past, and it's a lot, and it's just helping us immensely with, projects and stuff. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vice President Lasana. As you know, we have our, this is, I think, our 4th consent agenda preview, and this will help you as we post the items this Friday, and you can submit questions. I like to consider this the cliff notes to the consent agenda, and we divide those into the 3 categories of new bids, purchases, programs, and initiatives, annual purchases, and then any other business office items, kind of odds and ends. So the first item under our new bids category, new bids, purchases, programs, and initiatives category, is an item that Mr. Colbeck will be covering in an information item in just a little bit, so I'll let him cover that, but there's a summary of that particular item. The General Disaster Recovery Restoration Services is an annual item and is only used if needed in an emergency situation. The Parks and Recreation Equipment and Field Lighting Products is an annual bid. We've estimated expenditures at $105,000 for this year based on what we're seeing in the facilities budget. The truck and van rental services for campus and department needs, we are having a hard time fulfilling our needs right now to get those rentals. And so what we're trying to do is expand the options so we have more purchasing power to be able to get those rental vans and things like that on Friday night when we need them. On annual purchases, the ticketing system and other related products and services is our technology ticketing system. That's something that comes before you every year. And then the last 4 agenda topics did come to you in June. There's a reminder, if we were going to do anything new, it would come back to you, but what we wanted to do here is expand all of our awarded cooperative vendors so that we are able to utilize and maximize our purchasing power for those bids that came before you in June.
Okay. So as you know, this will be we'll be able to ask questions on this with our regular board meeting questions. So now we'll invite Mr. Colbeck back up here for the next two items.
Thank you, Ms. Lasan. I'm also asking Chris Langford to come up for both topics, should there be any other in-depth questions. The first topic is regarding our phone system. I hinted towards this when we were providing the bond update, but essentially in 2017, the replacement of all of our phone hardware, handset servers, voicemail systems, all of that was completed already. And when we did that, we bundled that with 5 years of licensing and support. In addition to that, since we put the phone system in, and in response to the pandemic, we needed to have some sort of collaboration platform. So the collaboration platform that we ended up using was Cisco WebEx. So currently the back-end phone system as well as the collaboration system, that licensing is all coterminous, and it's going to expire in December. So essentially what we need to do is, renew that to some level. Certainly, we need to have the phone service up and be able to answer phone calls when we come back from winter break. So what we're doing is we're working with procurement and contracts. We're looking at options for licensing. What we're looking at is options for 1, 3, and 5-year licensing. In addition to that, right now the phone system, the back-end servers, everything that we have here are in our data centers. So Chris also wanted to take a look at what options might exist to actually put those services in the cloud. So we're going to look at really the options for multi-year, single or multi-year, as well as on-premise and cloud licensing. So our plan is to bring that back to the board as an action item once we are complete with the procurement process and have a chance to review the responses. So with that, I'll open it up for any questions you may have.
Anyone? All right, go to the next one.
All right, thank you. All right, this next item is related to our fiber optic and related networking equipment. Essentially, let me make sure this is working. Okay. A little background on this project. This is something the board has seen a few times already, and there's some history with this. So if you recall, as part of the 2017 bond project, we identified the need to build out a fiber ring for the district. This project was first presented to the board way back in August and September of 2019. So there were a couple different phases to this. The first part, the board approved essentially the construction of the project. So that was to get the fiber in the ground. So really in tangent with that, we also had to, or didn't have to, but it made sense to pursue E-rate funding for the hardware that you need to light up the network once it's built out. So in that, in February of 2020, we brought an item to the board regarding the anticipated cost as well as approval for the E-rate submission for that 1920 E-rate year. So before we get into more detail on the E-rate part, I just want to reiterate with the board, what is this thing, right? It's a little bit abstract. So essentially right now, our current design, in absence of having the equipment we need to light up the fiber that was constructed, all of our sites home run back here, okay? And that's a technology that was awesome when it was put in about 10 years ago, maybe more, 12 years ago. However, what happens is some of your fiber, just like you saw those big cables that Randy was just showing in a wiring rewire, you have multiple fiber strands bundled in one set of cable or one conduit. So if you have a fiber cut, what actually ends up happening, if you have a fiber cut in the right location, you can actually knock out multiple buildings on one cut. And we do experience that. And we experience it more often on the east side than anywhere else, mostly due to the amount of construction. So what the fiber ring does is essentially builds a multiple path around, your locations that you put that fiber. So when we started off with that project, our goal was to basically put the ring where our highest users are, which were the high schools. So when we worked with in the design phase of this, that ring allowed us to have one way in, one way out, or multiple ways in, multiple ways out, depending on where fiber's cut. And the benefit of bringing it around through the high schools is on that same path, there were middle schools right along the way. So we were able to really leverage some good pricing on the construction side of it, and we were able to actually put the fiber in the ground at 14 campuses. Okay, so right now that's done. It's in the ground, it's constructed, it's completed. So kind of back to the E-rate side of this, the funding for the project was approved by E-rate back in November of 21, and that was really a long time when we first submitted it from 2020. But if you remember, COVID hit. There was a lot of federal monies that were introduced, tons of applications to the Schools and Libraries Division that oversees the E-rate program for connectivity, for devices, so it took a long time for our application to get approved. In that approval process, too, I want to reinforce with the board, when we applied for that, we actually applied for the E-rate funding through Region 11's consortium. And the reason we did that is because the E-rate funding is based upon what your free reduced lunch ratio is. So the entire consortium of Region 11 has a higher free reduced lunch percentage than LISD does. So the funding amount for Region 11 was 67%, whereas if we would have filed it single for us, it would have been 50%. So it did make sense for us to do that. So this, after it was approved in November, this topic was discussed again in March of 2022, this past March. We were anticipating bringing a consent item in April, and that's when we found out that it took so long that some of the parts were discontinued by the manufacturer. So we pulled the topic from the agenda, and the challenge on that is once it's discontinued, you really have to have mutual agreement from the manufacturer to substitute what equipment's going to be available, and then you have to file what's called a service substitution request with E-rate. Once that is submitted, they go through and review it, making sure you're not asking for more than what you originally asked for. So on a positive note, we were actually, the service substitution that we submitted actually, I feel, and I think Chris feels, gives us much better technology than we would have received back in April. So in late August, the service substitution request was finally approved. Would have been nice to have in early August where we could have got on the September agenda, but point being, it was approved in August, and that's why we're bringing it here. So I want to give you an example. So an example on E-rate funding. So if you had a $3 million project and you had no E-rate subsidy, obviously your out-of-pocket cost would be $3 million. If you have a $3 million project and you have a 50% subsidized rate through E-rate, which would be what our LISD free and reduced lunch ratio would be at, you'd pay half of that, $1.5 million. Using the 67% rate through Region 11, the discounted amount is over $2 million, and our cost then is $990,000. So your savings is over $500,000 by using this strategy. So, bless you. So with this particular item that we're going to be bringing forward, this would allow us to get the hardware we need to light up that fiber ring and create a much more resilient network than what we currently have. So with that, I'll open it up for any questions you have.
I was just going to make one comment. Really tonight I think about just how appreciative I am to the board for the questions that you've asked over time. And of course, we started the overall bond update last spring in response to those questions and committed to bring another overall bond update regularly to you. So you think about this category where you have $5.9 million balance in that category that we're talking about buying the WAN ring and the collaboration and phone software renewal from, and you think about the importance of that E-rate discount that really helps stretch that $5.9 million balance that you have left in order to continue to take care of the technology projects that were left that Mr. Colbeck went over with you. So I just think that's such a nice example of how all that information comes together this evening.
That's great. I can't believe we've been talking about this for so long.
We're excited to try to advance the project and get it going.
Yeah, it'll be nice. It'll be so nice. We won't get maybe so many of those emails of the phone's not working and stuff. But does anybody down here have any questions? Oh, y'all? Okay. All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I do have one point of clarification I want to make. The 14 campuses are just the campuses that are going to be on the ring. We already have fiber that the district owns in the Colony. So every campus from the Colony High School north, except for Hicks Elementary School, is on a fiber ring that exists there. So all of those elementary schools and middle schools will also be able to benefit from this ring, because if there's a fiber cut with their main provider, they'll be able to connect back through the Colony High School, which is on the ring, and they won't lose connectivity like they do now. So it's more than 14, it's just 14 on the ring, but all of those campuses will benefit as well.
Yeah, they'll be interconnected.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Thanks, Chris.
All right. Okay. The last part of the discussion items is the board committee update. If anyone has an update, I will start with mine. I'm the head of the governance committee, and we have not yet met, but we are planning to look at some board self-evaluation documents, and Dr. Rapp and I have kind of talked about this. Right now, we're trying to look for what is going to be a good document, and so the committee, I'm hoping, will help decide which one we want to use, and then we'll go from there. Does anyone else have a committee report that they would like to share from the board?
I can just address a couple that I'm involved in. Of course, the debt management with Ms. Prosnick and Ms. Hassett has been completed as of last month, so we're really excited about that and looking forward to the regular updates from Paige on our debt management portfolio. Excuse me. And the other item will come up at our very next meeting, the superintendent evaluation. So that is completed. It will be a very much streamlined process. It'll be more quantitative than qualitative. And Ms. Prosnick and I are excited about that. So we'll be talking more about that for discussion or approval next month. So thank y'all.
Okay. All right. I believe this is going to be a monthly thing on the board work sessions, right? So if anyone has something they want to share, just can be prepared for that. All right. Ms. Bay, I know you're here, but I don't think I can see you. There she is. Okay. Ms. Bay, would you like to talk about our next item? Oh, she pawned it off on you? All right. Go ahead. All right, thank you. This is something that we have, been talking about. So, would someone like to make a motion? Ms. Prosnick.
I move that the board adopt the resolution authorizing payment of employees during the November 8th, 2022 Election Day closure and ensure accurate time records are kept of actual hours worked by, quote, election personnel, end quote, as defined by the Chief of Human Resources and Superintendent of Schools as recommended by.
Second, Ms. Hassett. All right, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes 6-0. All right, the next one, Ms. Maloney.
Thank you, Vice President Lasan, Dr. Rapp, members of the board. We bring to you this evening the consideration for approval of the guaranteed maximum price for the Colony High School multipurpose facility, football press box replacement, and fiber installation project included in the 2017 bond. This is a year 5 2017 bond project. We have a little bit of historical information of when the press box and fiber installation was a standalone item, and when we brought it consolidated together and awarded POG, the CMAR contract. It has been advertised and competitively bid, and the price is was established, and we talked about it many times this evening. Just a reminder that we have gone over the funding for this project in the 2017 bond 2x2 meetings, and covered that we do have the project savings within the bond to use just those and not the land sale proceeds, but both are listed there as funding sources. So that is our recommendation this evening.
Thank you. Would someone like to make a motion? Ms. Taylor.
Madam Vice President, I move that the board approve the guaranteed maximum price of $45,153,800 for the Colony High School multi-purpose facility football press box replacement and fiber installation project by Poe Construction, and further authorize the superintendent, chief financial officer, or executive director of procurement and contracts to sign any documents to implement this action.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Ms. Sells? Is there any discussion? All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion passes 6-0. All right, we will now convene into closed session as authorized by Texas Government Code Section 551, specifically 551.071 and 089. The time is now 8:29 p.m. All right, we are back on the record in open session, having returned from closed session. The time is now 8:48 p.m. If there is no further business, this meeting is adjourned. The time is still 8:48 p.m.